Easter eggs are a big part of EA Sports UFC games. From secret moves and hidden animations to secret unlockable fighters, these hidden gems capture iconic moments inspired by real-life UFC events. Most of these Easter eggs are based on memorable fights, knockouts, and signature moves that only hardcore fans will recognize. They bring real-life action into the game, adding an extra layer of excitement for those familiar with the history behind them. Today, we're diving into the Easter eggs you probably missed from EA Sports UFC 1 all the way to the latest UFC 5. Right guys, I'm going to go through all the Easter eggs in the original EA Sports UFC 1 game. There are so many Easter eggs in this game, and all of them are based on things that have happened in real life. If you play as Jose Aldo against Cub Swanson and land a jumping double knee as your first strike in round 1, Swanson will be knocked down immediately. This Easter egg is a nod to Aldo's iconic 2009 performance against Cub Swanson at WEC 41. In the real fight, Aldo landed a brutal flying double knee just 8 seconds into the first round, which knocked Swanson down and ended the fight almost instantly. And also, what's crazy is you could actually pull these Easter eggs off in real online matches at the time, giving you a sneak advantage if you knew what you were doing. Right guys, if you're a UFC fan, you should know what the next Easter egg reference is all about. It's one of the craziest moments in UFC history. But if you use Anderson Silva against Vitor Belfort, landing a front kick to the head in round 1 will knock Belfort down instantly. In 2011 UFC 126, Silva delivered a perfectly timed front kick to Belfort's face, knocking him out and cementing the kick as one of the best knockouts in UFC history. The moment was so impactful that it even became the background for the title screen of UFC Undisputed 3. The next Easter egg is actually pretty funny guys. So if you use Anderson Silva again and you're facing Chael Sonnen, if you can successfully evade a spinning back fist attempt from Sonnen, he will actually stumble and fall to the ground. At UFC 148 during the fight, Sonnen threw a spinning back fist that missed, causing him to lose balance and fall to the ground. Silva immediately seized on the opportunity, landing a brutal knee to the body and finishing the fight shortly after. Guys, there are so many Easter eggs in EA Sports UFC 1, it's actually crazy. I'm surprised how much effort they put into this game. If you play as Vitor Belfort against Luke Rockhold and you can land a spinning heel kick on your first attempt in round 1, you will knock Luke Rockhold down. UFC on Fox 8 in 2013, in the first round, Belfort unleashed a perfectly timed spinning heel kick that landed flush on Rockhold's head, sending him crashing to the mat and earning Belfort a highlight reel finish. If you play as Dan Henderson against Michael Bisping, in round 2, if Henderson lands an inside leg kick followed up by a signature overhand right, Bisping will be knocked down instantly. UFC 100 in 2009, in one of the most brutal finishes in UFC history, Henderson set up Bisping with an inside leg kick before unleashing his devastating overhand right, also known as the H-bomb. The punch knocked Bisping out cold, and Henderson followed it up with a flying forearm whilst Bisping was already down. The next Easter egg is a reference to one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. So if you place Chris Weidman against Anderson Silva and you land a lead hook on Silva whilst he is taunting, Silva will be immediately knocked down. This Easter egg is a direct recreation of one of the most shocking moments in UFC history. UFC 162. During the fight, Silva, known for his flashy taunting and head movements, began showboating with his hands down, daring Weidman to strike. Weidman seized the moment, landing a lead hook that caught Silva off guard, knocking him out cold and ending Silva's long reign as champion. Right guys, next, if you place Travis Brown against Alistair Overeem, in the first round, if you land a front kick to Overeem's head, you will instantly knock him down. UFC Fight Night 26, after surviving a barrage of brutal strikes from Overeem early in the fight, Brown turned the tables with a perfectly timed front kick, knocking Overeem out cold. If you place Junior Dos Santos against Mark Hunt, in round 3, if you can land a spinning heel kick, Hunt will be knocked down immediately. UFC 160 in 2013, JDS shocked everyone when he landed a spinning heel kick in the third round, catching Hunt off guard and sending him crashing to the ground. Right guys, last but not least, apparently there's supposed to be 11 Easter eggs in EA Sports UFC 1. I could only find 9, so I don't know what the other 2 are. Maybe you guys can find out. Right guys, so for this one, if you play as Renown Barao against Eddie Wineland, in round 2, if Barao lands a spinning side kick to the head, Wineland will be knocked down instantly. In 2013 UFC 165, during the second round, Barao landed a perfectly timed spinning back kick to Wineland's head, sending him crashing to the mat and securing a TKO victory. Right guys, moving on, all the UFC 1 Easter eggs were ported over to UFC 2, but obviously UFC 2 had a few more Easter eggs. The first one being, you can actually unlock Joe Rogan by entering the classic Konami code in the menu screen, which is up, down, down, left, right, BA menu. Joe Rogan is actually really fun to use, and the game really makes it seem like he's an actual UFC fighter. From the infographics to the commentators, and even Bruce Buffer announcing him really makes it feel like he's an actual fighter stepping into the cage. But the funniest part is, while you're using Joe Rogan, he's still in the booth commentating on his own moves. You'd think EA would switch it up, or at least make him speak in first person.
Some vicious shots. Oh, he's right! That's it! He's out! He's out! The fight is over! Wow!
Right guys, so Brendan Schaub was not included in the UFC 2 roster because he fell out with the UFC and Dana White. But before I show you guys, I want to give you guys some context on why Dana White fell out with Brendan Schaub. Right, so Schaub would often question the skill level of new competitors in the UFC on the internet. He wouldn't shy away from expressing his negative opinions, which didn't sit too well with Dana White. The tension between them escalated further when Schaub wasn't included as a playable character in EA Sports UFC 2. The exclusion added to the bad blood between him and Dana, as Schaub saw it as another way the UFC was distancing itself from him due to his outspoken nature. Adding to the tension, there's a hidden Easter egg in the game that feels like a direct dig at Schaub. If Ben Rothwell ground and pounds someone in half guard and gets a TKO, the opponent, while unconscious, will continue to punch the air as if he's fighting an invisible man. This animation mirrors Schaub's infamous knockout behavior after he suffered a TKO loss to Ben Rothwell in real life, which was widely mocked online, and serves as UFC's subtle way of poking fun at Schaub in the game. Right guys, moving on to EA Sports UFC 3 Easter eggs. So if you play as Nate Diaz, there's actually an Easter egg you can trigger during the triangle choke submission. Nate Diaz will start taunting his opponent while locking in the submission, showing off his trademark attitude. UFC Fight Night 13 in 2008. During the fight, Diaz locked in a tight triangle choke, and as Pellegrino struggled, Nate began taunting by flexing and throwing up double middle fingers while still holding the submission. The moment perfectly captured Diaz's fearless and unapologetic personality, becoming one of his most memorable finishes. EA Sports also gave Nate Diaz the ability to slap, a reference to the famous Stockton slap used by him and his older brother Nick Diaz in the octagon. The next Easter egg is my favourite one. So in UFC 3, there's an Easter egg called the Holloway, basically where you use Max Holloway and you taunt during the last 20 seconds of a round. If your opponent taunts back, you'll enter the Holloway mode, where takedowns and grapples are disabled, stamina loss is removed, and backwards movement is reduced by half. It forces both fighters to stand and trade punches without any defensive options, creating a chaotic, all-out brawl. At UFC 199, in the final moments of the fight, Holloway pointed to the center of the octagon, inviting Lamas to stand and exchange punches with him. Lamas accepted, and the two fighters swung wildly at each other until the end of the round, capturing Holloway's warrior spirit. Even years after the game's release, Holloway repeated the iconic moment in his fight against Justin Gaethje at UFC 300, once again dropping his guard and challenging Gaethje to stand and bang in the final seconds, but only this time he knocked Gaethje out cold. The next Easter egg allows you to unlock Bruce Buffer in UFC 3. To do this, create a tournament at middleweight and use Bruce Buffer's name as the title. Then autofill the fighters in the tournament and you'll unlock the legendary announcer as a fighter.
It's time!
This Easter egg brings the voice of the octagon into the action, letting you experience Bruce in a way you've never seen before. And yes, if you're wondering, Bruce Buffer does announce himself.
This man is a judo fighter, making his professional debut here tonight. He stands 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighing in at 185 pounds. Fighting out of Los Angeles, California, USA, Bruce, it's
Personally, guys, I think EA could have thought this through. So instead of seeing a duplicate of Bruce Buffer announcing Bruce Buffer, it would have been so much more better if Bruce Buffer just walked into the cage, announced himself, and then announced his opponent, and dropped the mic and fought. You know, I don't want to be seeing Dana White wrapping the belt around himself. I don't want to see Joe Rogan calling his own fights. Just doesn't make any sense. Maybe have Michael Buffer announce Bruce Buffer whenever Bruce Buffer fights, or, you know, have Conor McGregor wrap the belt around Dana White whenever Dana White fights. Just shit like that. You know, have Snoop Dogg commentate when Joe Rogan's fighting. Speaking of Joe Rogan, to unlock him in UFC 3, go into knockout mode, pick GSP, and make the hell flow just to make it easier. You need to hold the left trigger, both bumpers, and press circle in the orthodox stance to land a spinny body kick KO. And you should hear this if you've done it right. Right guys, next, if you play as Demetrius Johnson, when you take your opponent's back in a clinch, you can actually execute Johnson's famous high-flying armbar technique. It's a slick move that perfectly captures his high-level techniques and his submission skills. UFC 216 in 2017, in one of the most creative and impressive submissions in MMA history, Johnson transitioned from a suplex into a high-flying armbar mid-air, forcing Borg to tap out. Right guys, moving on to EA Sports UFC 4 Easter eggs. Meet Jeff Harrower. He used to be the main dev for EA Sports UFC games before moving on to games like God of War. The final game he developed for EA was EA Sports UFC 4. In a tweet, he expressed hope that his little Easter egg made it into the final build of the game. When the game released, Jeff confirmed that the Easter egg was still present, sparking excitement among the UFC players who tried their best to find it. After months of failed attempts, Jeff finally gave players a hint, revealing that it was a secret move. The Easter egg was eventually discovered, and no, it wasn't another Joe Rogan unlock Easter egg, it was just a butt slap. That's right, you could lift your opponents up in UFC 4 and literally spank them. To perform this, players needed to execute a double leg takedown slam on their opponent, and while holding them, press L1 along with triangle and circle, and you should spank your opponent. This playful Easter egg was likely Jeff's way of saying goodbye to the EA Sports UFC community. Alright, moving on. In UFC 4, there's a fun Easter egg that involves Brock Lesnar. I'm not too sure if it's a dig at him or just a clever reference, but if Brock gets hurt in the game, sometimes he'll lose his balance and struggle to control his movements, just like his real UFC fight against Cain Velasquez. In that fight, after taking a heavy hit, Brock wobbled and struggled to stay upright, and this Easter egg captures that moment perfectly in the game. Next up, if you play as Jorge Masvidal in UFC 4 and you finish your opponent in the knee on belly position, you'll notice Masvidal celebrates by smacking the mat. UFC 239 in 2019, after landing a flying knee just 5 seconds into the fight, Masvidal knocked Askren out cold. As Askren lay unconscious, Masvidal smacked the mat while taunting his opponent, fully embracing the moment. Right guys, moving on to EA Sports UFC 5 Easter eggs. If you select the fighter from Dagestan, Russia, Hasbulla will walk out with you and even be cage side during the fight. This is a pretty cool addition, as Hasbulla is a popular figure within the UFC community. He's often seen in funny videos with fighters like Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev, making him a beloved personality in the sport. Right guys, the final Easter egg of this video. If you play as Tony Ferguson and successfully deny a backclinch takedown, he performs a unique role to escape. This Easter egg showcases Tony Ferguson unorthodox style in the game. Right guys, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Guys, if there's any Easter eggs that I missed that should have been mentioned in this video, then drop a comment below. Let me know which ones they are. Let me know which one's your favorite one is too. And yeah guys, drop a like, subscribe for more content. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.